Welcome back everyone to another ESO video. Today is about champion points. Yes, of course, there was a video up on my channel about this during the PTS, but something slightly changed along the way. But of course, the patch is now live on all platforms as of today, the 16th of March. Now, it looks really confusing on the surface, but don't worry, I've got this covered. It is nowhere near as confusing as you might think. It's actually a lot easier than it was before. It's just that because it's new, it's a little bit intimidating. But the one thing to note above all is that champion points are now inevitable. They are going to happen. You don't have to worry about should I spec here, should I spec there once you get to a certain stage, because you will have it all. The only thing you'll have to swap out is your slottables. And for that to make sense, we're going to go obviously into the champion points. We'll glaze over a lot of this to make it as quick as possible, but I will explain the major points and basics over this new system. So you've got three sections here. This is all about quality of life, your crafting stuff, extra gold, extra stuff from stealing. All of that is quality of life. So if you like fishing, crafting, stealing, getting gold in general, that's where you want to go. Damage, heals, and resistances are all in this tree. And this one is all about, it's called fitness, but it's all about that basically. Your ability to be active in a fight, your CC immunity, your reduction to cost for blocking and dodging and all that good stuff. So your active base combat stuff is here, your damage, heals, and resist is here, and your crafting and quality of life is here. Now, when I say they're inevitable, there are two different types of champion point sections that you can spec into in each tree. There is the basic passives, and there are the slottables. Now, if you look at the top of the screen, you can see there's three separate bars all kind of combined into one. There's a green section, a blue section, and a red section. And there are 4 circles in each. So the green one, 4 circles, blue one, 4 circles, red one, 4 circles. Those are your slottables, and there are lots of them. Now, before, you had to really wiggle your points because the cap was 810, and you would have more available buyable points, if you like, than you could actually afford. You'd have to put 50 in here, 10 in here, 60 in there somewhere, and you had bits and pieces of passives, never actually finishing anything because of high diminished returns. That's never going to happen again. So, instead, what you have is stuff like this. Here is a passive bonus, and instead of this might cost you 10 points for 1%, then 15 points for the next percent, and then 20 points for the next percent, it's 10. Bonus. 2% gold. 10 again. Another 2% gold. 10 again. Another 2. It's very, very clear cut what you actually spend and what you actually gain. There's no point percentages in between. There's no decimals. There's no none of that. There's just, if you don't have the points for this bit, you can't get it. And if you do, done. Now this is a passive. That stays with you forever. However, if you go further into the tree and you start unlocking some of this stuff, you get these bright lit up ones of the color of the same constellation. And these are your slottables. These are your choices. These are inevitable. You're going to get them all. These are your choices. And you put them up here. Now, if you have 4 slottables, you can slot them all. If you have 5 slottables, 10 slottables, then you take 4, but you swap them out as much as you want depending on the situation. That's about as complicated as it gets. Before, let's say, for example, the blue tray. You want some crit chance, so you get some crit chance. Before, you might have been able to put, say, 10 in here. Different tree, of course, but for argument's sake, maybe 20 in here, and then some more in here, and oh no, we've run out of points. You're going to have that to start with, but the more points you gain, you are going to be able to fill them all up, completely maxing every single passive available. To crit, to flat stats, to damage and status effect and penetration bonuses, to actually boosting your resistances to damage, all passives, and boosting your flat healing. So if you're a DPS, usually you would spec into damage. If you're a tank, usually you would spec into resists, and if you're a healer, usually you would spec into heals. Now you can have it all on the same character, and the only difference to your play style, once you've got all these passives, is do you take some of these damage slottables, which we have here, lots and lots of different ones. Do you take some healing slottables over here? Or do you take some tanking slottables? And there's even some kind of misc out there in the open, don't need any further requirements to acquire them type slottables in each tree as well. And these ones here, just flat bonuses, no requirements at all, just 1 point at a time. So these slottables are what really makes or breaks your role in the situation. All of these passives you will be able to have. Now, I know people are really concerned about the fact that there are 3,600 at cap. Well, let's just get all of the red passives, shall we? So, we've got a full template here, so a maximum of 3,600 champion points. Every single one of these lit up kind of white or yellow light passives are now done. And I've still got 653 left. Granted, that's before slottables, and you will want these early on. But if you buy the slottables, you can spec half into them, fully into them. Depends on how much you want from it. So if we get 4 slottables as well to fill our tree at the top there. This one. And this one. We'll take this as well, because Survival Instincts is insane. If you haven't watched my build videos yet, watch them. I go over this for each individual build. Tell you which slottables to take. And even on the website for each build, I will show you a path, if you are lower champion points, as to where you should go. Now, let's say for argument's sake, we've got our build. We don't really want to buy any of these extra slottables right now, because we're not sure if we want to swap them out occasionally, but we're happy with these 4. The only thing left to do would be to get all your passives, and look, we've got them all. All of them. Bottom right-hand side of the screen. We have 453 red champion points left, and we have everything. Even though tanks can benefit heavily from a lot of this stuff, so can a DPS or a healer. And now we have them. Go into the blue tree, we'll do the same. We'll buy absolutely everything. Now, although the tree looks massive, I don't have to go any further because I've got everything that we need. There's a small bonus here to penetration, weapon damage and spell damage, and status. There's a small bonus here to crit. There's a small flat bonus here to stam or magicka. Small resistances, small heals. You're done. That's all your passives. Every single one is done. Now, of course, if we want to get these slottables, which we can buy, any that you like, you could buy lots of them for swap out situations, or you can just get the ones you want. So we want 4, so we'll buy 4. Let's just imagine we're on easy sork for argument's sake. We now have capped resistances for our champion points themselves, not overall, because there's stacking bonuses, of course, from other stuff. We have all the DPS bonuses. We have all the healing bonuses. And now we also have the 4 slottables that we want to take for the majority of the time. And we've still got 495 champion points left. I don't have to do that for the green tree as well. But let's speed it up. Let's put all these points in real quick. Now, we've got every single passive available in this tree. Every single one. Same for the red tree, same for the blue tree. We've got every single one available. We are not missing anything. And for each tree, we've even managed to acquire 4 slottables. That's your choice. That's your major role change or situation change. If you're DPS, go for DPS-y stuff. AoE, you've got AoE stuff, single target, etc, etc. If you're a healer, more healy stuff. If you're a tank, more tanky stuff. If you're a hybrid, then mix it up. The situation will depend on which you choose to take with you. But for argument's sake, we've got the 4 that we want for our all-round stuff. We still have 495 CPs left in the blue, 453 left in the red, and 544 left in the green. Overall, we have 1,492 champion points spare. So people worried about having to go really, really high, don't panic, you're fine. Now, what do you do with the remaining champion points? Because you only needed 2,108 to get all of it. That's why I said it's inevitable. It's not you're going to have some percentage left over in this node, some percentage left over on that, and there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to max them out. What do you do with them? Well, now it is just quality of life. You've got no passives to buy that will benefit you every single day. You've just got slottables. So if I bought this and Now it's mine. Here's the quality of life part. I can now swap this with any of these without spending gold. I don't now have to respec to buy something because I don't have enough points. I've got an abundance of spare points to buy all these shinies that I might want for later. And for no gold, swap it. And if I want to change my DPS character to a more healer-based character, for example, maybe I want to swap out some of these. So I'll buy these passives here. I'll actually buy 4 of them. I'll buy all 4 really strong healing ones. You don't have to have these. This is not saying this is how you're supposed to make your build. Just an example of where you can go. All those passives that we have in the tree contribute to resistances, heals, and damage. For Magicka, Stamina, Tank, or Healer. So that doesn't change. The only thing that changes is these. I change my gear, change a couple of skills. I change my slottables. Now I'm a healer. Just like that. It doesn't cost you any gold. That is what the extra points are for. You don't have to be max level. You don't have to be anywhere near this if you don't want to be. You can actually just spec one way into your stuff, ignore the other side of the coin. So Magicka, you could just spec straight into that, ignoring weapon damage, ignoring stamina along the way. You could spec straight into flat damage and ignore resistances if you want to be glass cannon. Or you could spec just into heals and nothing else when you are buying your passives along the way. As long as you've got your slottables, that's your main role pushing situation. That's when it really starts to count. That's when you slot these instead of the DPS and you're good. And the tanky side of things, this is all, again, in the situation depending on what you need. There are so many different ways to build characters as a rule, but the passives are all inevitable. You will eventually get them all. Every single character that you have at this level will have the same base stats. It's just, what do you do with these? That's it. Now, when it comes to lower champion points, of course, I appreciate not everyone's going to be this level so far. They're not going to be this far into the game. There's new players, there's older players. Everyone's at their own level. The champion point system did get changed as far as XP is concerned. You will now gain it faster. Now, it's not the same gauge all the way through the champion points for every single jump. Say, one is X amount of XP, the next one is a set percentage higher. It's not exactly the same across the board. But in previous champion points, champion point 1.0, the XP gain from 1 to 360 in champion point 2.0 is now across the board 40% faster. So we will gain champion points very, very quickly. Also before, at 810 champion points, you used to slow down your XP gain for your champion points themselves. Now that has been shifted. So you will actually slow down at 1800. And even way into 1.5k, 1.6k champion points, there are people this week that have literally gained over 200 champion points in just a matter of days, 2 or 3 days. It's very, very fast and much more useful than it was before. And across the player base, you will see a lot more balance as far as people's characters are concerned, because all their stats are going to level out. Again, it's just a choice of which slottables you take as to which way it will affect your role in the situation. Very, very nice system indeed. Nowhere near as complicated as it first looks on the surface. Before, you had to wiggle stuff. Now you just have to fill it up until it's done. Remember, of course, the quality of life side of things is once you get past 2k, you're pretty much done. It's just you never have to spend gold again if you have enough points to buy the extra slottables that you want to swap out. So over 2108 is not necessarily more powerful than somebody else. It just means that you have more options available, which doesn't cost you. Now, all players in the game in the Flames of Ambition DLC did get increased base stats as well. We all have much higher stamina, much higher magicka, and much higher health. So everyone across the board has got a nice balance to all of those stats, as well as your weapon damage and spell damage as well. Not to mention, of course, with that being a thing, now even newer players and experienced players alike will have higher survivability in terms of their overall health pool, which means inside content, depending on how you spec yourself, you will see the mechanics more before you die. There are lots of situations in the past where you run in, dead, run in, dead, run in, dead, and there's nothing you can do. 15k health would kill you. Now, anyone that's got 15k in a trial situation, if you have, say, Minor, Toughness, and Ebon, you're sitting on anywhere between 25 and 30k health as a DPS. That's a lot. And most mechanics that would normally kill you very, very quickly still can kill you, but you might survive long enough to see what's going on. It's been tested in trials and dungeons so far, and arenas, and it's been very, very nice. Small point, by the way, Bone Colossus in Fang Lair, normally it will kill a DPS if you block. Sorcerers, however, if you put Bound Aegis on and block with that, you'll live. Or if you put Mistform on any DPS, healer, or tank, while he heavy attacks you, you'll still live. Before, that was not a thing. So survival has gone up, mechanics can now be seen more clearly, and yes, of course, damage has gone down slightly to obviously make sure that we play more mechanics rather than brute force, but we'll see what happens in the next updates. In a nutshell, champion points are inevitable. Make your choices as far as your slots are concerned. So first of all, thank you very much for watching. I hugely appreciate your support. If you are not subscribing already, please do hit that button. It is free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, the website xynodegaming.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.